recording.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Star Flag Media. It's your boy Talent 860. You can catch me on PlayStation. You can catch me on Xbox as UWA Talent. You can catch me on Switch as UWA Talent.
And soon on PC Master
and
Race.
or PC.
Soon to come.
And I'm here with my good friend Anthony, aka
Mr. Wizard. Mr. Loves to make podcasts with echoes. My favorite game, according to our podcast, is Echo the Dolphin. And hopefully this week we won't be reverberating all over the internet. Pause.
Yeah, pause. But Echo was a great success, though, right?
Unfortunately, that game was fucking weird, man. Dolphin talking about aliens and all that shit. Anyway, welcome everybody this week, man. Drunken Idiots podcast. We are officially on the air.
Yeah.
Star Flag Media. Look at that.
You see that?
Little guy from Crash Bandicoot representing.
We moving on up. So as we move on up, I just wanna talk about what is going on this week or this past week. Because it's not always about gaming. It's
We are
culture.
media.
So
But we are going to talk about games at the end.
So last week, they dropped the second half of the second season for Invincible, and
You're a big fan.
I'm a big fan of Invincible because I never seen I never read the comics, but the show is
Neither
just
have I.
great. Like it reminds me of the animated Justice League Warner Brother DC movie,
Which are fantastic.
because there's a lot of
That's the one thing DC gets right is
they're
they're animated.
their
It's
animation.
so good.
It reminds me of that because, and it might even probably jacks from the animators. But the writing is good, the story is good,
Mhm.
and they just dropped the second episode of the second half of season 2. It turns out that the only reason why that they split the season was because there were some issues due to recording. People were sick.
Issues with recording.
COVID,
We don't know anything about that.
Something, yeah, something, COVID. And what ended up happening was,
They still blaming COVID 4 years later, man.
well, so
Jesus.
they blamed
I mean,
us.
but with animation, it does take a year to like make episodes.
Yeah,
if they're not using computers.
They blamed us, and they said,
yeah, it's your fault.
They said you could either you can either wait until all the episodes are done, or we could bring it to you early.
Split it in half.
And split it in half.
I'd rather have half and half.
And it's like, yeah, well, you present it that way.
Yeah,
like,
something's better than nothing.
Thank you for bringing it early.
Yeah, for sure.
But
that sounds like a good excuse.
But yeah, the story is continuing, and
what platform is this on?
This is on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And I was so upset that they split the season in half because they ended it like on a cliffhanger.
Oh, well, of course.
But
this is what like Walking Dead used to do. That they used to have a mid-season.
Yeah,
pause.
but every episode is like a cliffhanger.
Like Lost.
Yes, but not as. It's not as good, but it's they do well with the story. They do well with their character development. Anybody who's seen Invincible season 1 or who's watching it now, or if you want to get into it, it is a great animated show. And there's a stigmatism around animated, shows, but I promise you, the voice acting is superb. The writing is superb, and it's just phenomenal. It's great. I wish I had more words to describe it. But I'll say this: what they're great at, which I wish that they could do better in, is back to the ending of each episode. Because, like I said, they leave it on a cliffhanger, and it's like a mild steep drop. It's maybe like a hop down, which is cool because it still keeps you
glued.
It keeps you glued. It keeps you invested. But then Xmen 97 drop.
It stole all this thunder.
No, I don't think it stole his
I
thunder.
think it did. You want me to tell you why? Just because less people are familiar with Invincible. And X-Men's like a gigantic property.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Marvel. And Disney. And here's probably... I've seen X-Men 97. I haven't seen Invincible. You're championing this show because it's clearly a great show. So I have to give it a chance. I've got my ways of watching it. I don't have Amazon Prime. I won't bootleg it, guys, because we don't do that at Starflight Media. But I have my ways of watching it.
That
Anyway,
Mixed Switch coming next week.
What is?
Mixed Switch.
I'm not buying that.
Sorry. So
But anyway, so X-Men 97 dropped.
Yes.
And what I think, there's a couple of things about X-Men 97 that
Don't
first of
compare
all,
it to Invincible.
no, because I can't, because I haven't seen it. But what I'm gonna say is, standing on its own, we can only compare it to what it is, which is comparing it to the original show.
Yep.
Okay. Now, that's a very high bar, especially because you're going into it with rose-tinted glasses as a kid, right?
Oh yeah, I remember being 6 calling Wolverine X-Men.
Yeah, and that theme song was just iconic. And when you heard it, you wanted to fight people.
Yeah.
You just wanted to kick everybody in the room.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I know I'm digressing, but I played episode 2 with my son, and the theme song came on, and I said, "That's Wolverine," and he said, "No, that's X-Men," and I was just like,
"That's my son."
Yeah.
So maybe you do have autism.
He's 4.
He's X-Men too. But when you're a kid and you think about X-Men, there's got to be an X-Men. There's got to be one.
He's seen the claws, and he said, "Oh, that's X-Men."
Yeah, okay, it makes sense to me. Wolverine's also clearly the fan favorite from the old show. But I've got a full review coming out that's on hold right now from YouTube.
Okay.
It's like a 30-minute breakdown of both episodes, where I go like in depth to the story. But we're gonna kind of like we're gonna bounce around a little bit for this.
Okay.
Just want to say, so you set the bar high, so I came into the show with very low expectations.
Okay.
With a couple of reasons.
In the group chat, I went out. In the group chat, I went kind of crazy. I went kind of warm at first, and so pause as a pretext.
But even with all your hype,
yeah,
I still went into it with low expectations, and not just because I didn't take like your hype seriously.
I went into the show with low expectations
because of the writing staff,
people getting fired and all that stuff.
Yeah, and also we've heard some woke things going on behind the scenes. Yeah, it's still and again, it's still a little too soon to see where it's going. We see a little. I saw a few red flags, which we'll touch upon.
Yeah, I didn't see it until you mentioned it.
Yeah, we'll touch upon those, and then but I went into it with those expectations, and also with the knowledge of how Disney has fucked up Star Wars, how they fucked up Marvel, how they're continuing to mess them up, how they took $1 billion movie in Captain Marvel and turned it into the Marvels and ran it into the ground.
Review got trailer bomb.
And the Acolyte is now saying, hey, everything that you remember about Star Wars, forget it. We are veering away from everything George Lucas did for the last 40 years.
But X-Men.
So I went into X-Men with all of those things in mind. So the show starts, and it first of all starts off with the theme song, and they replicate the intro.
Yep.
And holy crap, it's okay so far, so good. And they don't pussy around with the beginning and try to reintroduce the characters. They go into it right away, going, you know who these guys are.
There was still some exposition though.
Very small. Not at the very beginning. It starts off.
First episode was kind of dry because with the exposition.
Yeah, but it starts off immediately in action.
It does.
It doesn't start off with like this is Storm. Mm-hmm. You want to know how you meet Storm in episode 1? She busts in through the roof.
It says, "By God Almighty,
through the
freedom ring.
I'm going to queef the airs of Africa through my vagina," and a tornado comes out. She does. Yeah, she does. No, I mean she's a girl. She can queef air out of her vagina.
That's what you said. That's
what Storm said. Okay. So that's how you meet Storm, and then immediately after that you meet Bishop. who's now a part of the group. Bishop is full-time X-Men.
Yeah, I read that Bishop was supposed to be a part of the group full time after season 4 when they thought they were going to get canceled, but the show got picked up, and they said, "Yeah, fuck Bishop."
He's a side character in the original series, but now Bishop is here full-time. He got a fade now. He doesn't have his mullet.
Yeah.
Storm got a mohawk.
She got a mohawk.
She got a mohawk, which is more modernized. So
Jean
again,
lets
there's
her hair down.
Yeah, so there's a few changes that we're seeing, but it starts off badass, and right away Cyclops comes into the picture, and Cyclops isn't a total pussy, and
he's not a cuck.
Not at all. He's actually cool now, and he starts showing off new things that you haven't seen him do in the original series.
He did
fighting
the optic
style,
blast, and he pushed himself back,
dodging and like projecting himself and running faster with his optic blast.
Yeah.
Badass. And like it was just like, okay, maybe this isn't gonna suck. That was my right away. Like that's the first 5 minutes of the show.
Yep.
Maybe this isn't gonna suck. And then it slows down, as it should.
Yep.
And as the old show used to do.
Yeah.
And it tells you a story of who these characters are and why this kid matters and blah 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 blah. But spoiler alert for anybody out there. Xavier's dead.
Supposedly. Allegedly.
He's dead. And let's just take it for what it's worth at face value.
Yeah.
So Xavier's dead. He leaves a will behind. But we don't talk about that yet. They talk about it more in episode 2.
Yeah.
And, that's what the team is going through right now is the death of Xavier.
Yeah,
Humanity is now...
Yeah, so Cyclops is... He's kind of hurting because...
Yeah, he's definitely hurting.
He's like he's the poster boy. He's the Cub Scout. He's
also the first class.
Yeah, he's like the leader. So he's.
And it's hitting him the hardest.
What I like about the show, what they're doing right now is they're doing the character development. They're showing everyone as like an individual and what they're going through. So it's the writing so far is good.
I agree.
First episode, and then the second episode. We got introduced to Magneto, and you got to carry the art with Magneto.
So we get introduced to... Well, before we jump there, like, Sunspot is in this one. So Sunspot
was
now,
our eyes back into the world.
Jubilee is now more Asian. Remember, we were talking about how you were like, I didn't even know she was Asian.
She was racially ambiguous.
She's Asian now.
Yeah.
She's Asian now. Gambit has a scene where he's rocking the queerest belly shirt.
He had a crop top, and
now they're selling it online.
But to Gambit's defense,
there's no defense.
To Gambit's defense, I mean, I would never wear a crop top, but back in the 90s,
80s. That's another thing. I looked into it. I said maybe it's because it's set in 97. No.
I could show you some movies from 97, some teen movies.
No, 80s for sure.
I can show you some teen movies from 97.
You're gonna have to find those for me.
I got you. We'll do that.
Yeah, he'll text me those, and then we'll add it. We'll add them here, and we'll put on the years that they came out. But the crop tops were definitely around. I know in the 80s and early 90s.
Okay.
But we're in 97, and even though Gambit is of obviously the age of the crop tops, he shouldn't be wearing that.
Okay.
And he definitely didn't wear it in the original show.
No, he didn't, and I agree with you with that. He definitely didn't wear them, but
definitely different.
But I'll say this, like even though it's X-Men 97, the show debuted it in 93 or 92.
That's true.
And it's a continuation of that
era, but it's set in 1997.
Okay, we can.
That's what it's called, X-Men 97, because it debuted in 93 and it ended in 97.
96.
And now this is the year after.
Yeah.
So either way, that's we're nitpicking.
Yeah, we don't want to go 3 hours.
Yeah. Either way,
over
Gambit's belly shirt. But in that same scene, Jean shows up and she's mega pregnant.
Yep.
Mega pregnant. So that's also like a new twist. And so they do their little storyline, and then episode 2 really picks up.
Yep.
Really picks up. Because they find out that Charles Xavier has a will, and he leaves the X-Men to a certain someone.
Yeah, so he left it to Magneto, and that's where you
Who
get.
just shows up.
So I'm sorry, guys. They end the episode 1 with Magneto being the world carrier.
That's true.
He earns everything of what was Charles, and then
It's true.
the second episode, it was great because there was more character development amongst the group.
Mm-hmm.
There was more, reflections and character growth, and the writing is good. The writing is good.
We can see how the Friends of Humanity are really going after the X-Men in this show. Right now, they are the main rivals. It's not like a super mutant at this point. It's still very much in line with the old show where the government was a huge part of it. Even though now humanity is more sympathetic towards mutants because of the death of Xavier. The Friends of Humanity have kind of kicked their operations up another notch.
Yeah.
Since everybody's so sympathetic, they're like, well, now we got to go even harder.
Yeah. So I would say, listen, if you're like me and you need or you have a superhero, you gotta get like your little superhero fix. Pause. And you want just
Good old fashioned
superhero stuff.
Yeah.
Right or wrong, good versus evil. You got the X-Men and you got Invincible.
And it's still political. It really is. You can listen. Here's the beauty of this. If you're a left winger, right at this point, episode 1 and 2, this might change later. But if you're a left winger or you're a right winger or a conservative or whatever, you can pick your political rival's point of view and insert them wherever you want. You want to be the X-Men and say, hey, this other group is threatening my way of life, or you want to be the Friends of Humanity and say, hey, this group is threatening my way of life. You can pick and say, oh, this is clearly representative. This is more a reflection of you than the show.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Right now at this point. Because I drew a lot of parallels. And this is just me now as an adult viewing it versus when I was a kid.
Yeah, so X-Men was always like a social reflection
commentary
of what's going on when it was wrote back in the 60s.
Yeah, definitely.
And what it is today. So yeah,
Civil
there's parallels now, and there was parallels then. X-Men will always be a reflection of
what's happening.
Yeah,
I agree. And the X-Men will always represent the marginalized or the perceived marginalized group, whether you like that or not. Because they in the show they are the minority. They are the ones trying to seek acceptance from the vast majority. So, whether you are more conservative now as an adult or not, and you reflect on that, that's fine. But I will say this:
I know you go harder in your pause. I know you say more in your review.
Not really. I don't really touch on the politics. This is kind of and in my review, if it finally clears and YouTube clears it with Disney, I really do review the show literally at face value.
Okay.
This is the nuances that I'm talking about now are for here.
All right.
So
I'm sorry, guys.
No, we're good, man. We're also drunk, so we're the drunken idiots. With that said, I still see the political nuances there, and I don't hate it yet.
Yeah,
they haven't hit me over the top with anything that I'm like, whoa, what is that? That's agenda. That's propaganda.
Yeah,
nothing so far has killed me.
I'm very happy with the direction of the show so far.
I agree. Yeah,
but
I'm totally with
I also want to just say there's another superhero animated show called Invincible.
You already said that.
They're on their second season.
So we talked about Invincible. Nobody's gonna watch that. Hey, guys, if you guys want, do us a favor. Go watch Invincible. Leave a comment below if you do like Invincible or how it stands up next to X-Men. Apparently, it's the better show out of the two, and we're only 2 episodes in, of course, so we'll see what happens. But let us know what you think about Invincible.
It's not a war. I like them both.
You're allowed to like both. Exactly.
I like them both. They hit for different reasons. Pause.
For sure. So going back to X-Men, they have Magneto gets arrested. He goes in front of the United Nations, and the United Nations judges. One of the judges is a carbon copy of Justice Sotomayor of the Supreme Court. She looks exactly like her. And I was like, that's not coincidence. Anyway, so um, the Friends of Humanity break through and then they attack the Supreme Court of the United Nations, and Magneto finally loses his shit. Storm gets shot, loses her powers. They don't know that yet, but loses her powers because she's like, I can't feel the wind.
She says it right
The
then and
vaginal
there.
farts aren't here.
I seen by when she was crying.
Yeah.
So all right, so boom. I'm not gonna say that the writing isn't great because it was good writing.
It is.
When Storm lost her powers and she did her little monologue, I
You're like,
can't feel
oh, yeah, it's deep.
the moisture in the air and all that type of stuff. And then
Shit that you
Magneto
would take
shed
for
a
granted,
tear.
but yeah, exactly.
Magneto shed a tear, and he
He
had a
gets it. He
badass
gets it.
moment. And the badass moment was, listen, I could fucking kill you and smite you all right now, but
No, but he
for,
showed them how powerful he was because he ripped the whole court, took the judges up with him. Executioner shows up, by the way, guys. I don't know if we mentioned that, but Executioner shows up, who's a badass in the comic books. Everybody's like, oh, it's just some human. No, this dude is a major pain in the X-Men's ass in the comic books. Executioner shows up, and he's the guy who shoots Storm and takes her powers. So Magneto does his Magnetoing, and pulls the whole court up and takes them out into what you could consider the borderlines of outer space. He's magnetized them so they can breathe and all that good stuff, right? He created an atmosphere for them, and then he shows them the planet, and he looks at the justices, and he makes a fucking point, and gives them the speech of a lifetime, and he goes,
full of double entendre.
"You idiots! I'm doing this to show you, first of all, how fucking badass I am.
Yep.
That I could choose, and all of us mutants could choose
Not
to
to kill you.
just it could go either way. I could kill you right now and just take over. But because this is Charles's dream of us, and he shudders, of us coexisting, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ask for you to look at this moment as a chance for you to give me a chance. Because he's going to try to live out Xavier's last wish. Fuck. I mean, fuck, right? By the way, Magneto, at the very first episode, shows up in the Danger Room wearing his classic X-Men outfit in the Danger Room under the hologram. And then when he does show up, he shows up wearing a brand new outfit with a giant M on his chest that stands for Mary. And he's a little
Mary,
different.
mother of Jesus.
Mary is an old timey word for.
Mary
if you guys
Sue.
go back and look up in the 1950s, when be like, yeah, he's a Mary. Go look that up. And
So he's not a Mary Sue.
yeah, no, he's a Mary Con. Anyway, so he shows up wearing this really weird outfit that I've never seen. Well, maybe he's in a comic book somewhere. Some nerd is gonna be like, well, actually, save it. Save it. He has the M that stands for hope, like Superman. Not an S. So anyway, all of that to say, Magneto then goes back to the mansion. He's trying to convince the X-Men that he's changed his ways. Cyclops being Cyclops, I don't trust you, Mister. Mr. Boy Scout, Mr. I'm still the Mr. Morality. He is definitely the Superman out of the group, for sure.
Yeah.
Superman without Superman's powers, but he's definitely the same attitude. And Rogue has a little moment with Magneto in his office. And Magneto's first words to her is, I didn't think you were gonna want to be alone with me in my office. And what was your thoughts then?
Nah, man, it's like what they're doing is what they're doing is great. They're building up each character and they're building dialogues.
Yeah, and little backstories.
And little
backstories. Some stuff happened.
So it's great. It's great. Is what
that
they're
1
doing.
year.
The 9 months at least.
Yeah,
between what happened. So
yeah.
I'm not disputing that it's not a good show.
No, I know,
it's a great show so far.
Yeah.
And they have me on the hooks because how season 1 ended.
Yeah.
They I'm sorry, not season
episode
1.
1.
How episode 1 ended, it was with Magneto saying I got Xavier as well.
Being Magneto,
And
being
then
cool.
episode 2 ended with
Well, wait. Let's not jump to the end. I wanted to know what your thoughts were when you saw Magneto and Rogue together.
I thought it was
Because if I don't know how, like, I don't know if you follow the comic book, but
no, I don't follow
okay,
the comics,
and
but once I
in
seen
none of the
that
movies,
once I seen that he was able to touch her, I was like, okay, yeah,
that happened later on, but they kind of nuanced it, and he goes for her glove and he tries to touch her hand,
I seen that.
and she pulls away,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, these two,
Yeah. Nah, so like
these two has something.
nah, so all right. We about to spend an hour on X-Men?
No, we're closing up, but I just wanted to know what your thoughts were in that moment.
Okay.
We're only like 20 minutes in.
I think we longer than that, bro.
No, we're about 20.
Honestly, like
We are drunk, by the way.
with the whole Magneto and Rogue thing, once he grabbed and went for her hand and tried to go for the glove, I already knew that.
Of course,
he fucked. He fucked. But I mean, like,
yeah.
But like, pause. But like, Magneto was him.
Yeah, Magneto is the dude.
He's him. He's one of those guys that's just
in that scene with Rogue. My first major red flag went off. I had a red flag in episode 1 when I saw Morph and Wolverine giggling together in the bar and sharing a beer, and I was like, "What the fuck is Wolverine giggling?" Yeah, Morph. I was like, that's a little weird. And we all know that Morph is non-binary in the new episode. And I was like, yo, if Morph tries and morphed into Jean Grey at one point and flirted with him, and Wolverine wasn't totally like, get the fuck out of my face.
I looked at it as Morph was
playful,
being an asshole.
He was, but it's also might be his way of flirting with Wolverine, like trying to see.
So
what
I wasn't looking too deep into that.
But that was just because I knew.
I just looked at it for face value, and I was like, he's being an asshole.
And then, yes, and I know from the original show, Morph and Wolverine, like Wolverine has a mental fucking breakdown in the first show when Morph dies. Like, there's like 6 episodes where he's like, Morph.
At the end of the second episode, we seen Morph approach Wolverine, and he's trying to cheer him up.
Yeah, they're still boys.
And Wolverine is just not
having it.
Yeah, and then he turns into Sabretooth.
He does turn into Sabretooth.
And then
he fucks with him a little bit more.
Yeah.
But that might be...
So you're saying it might be Wolverine's...
Not Wolverine. I don't know Wolverine's going to fall for this. I think Morph knows Wolverine, and he's like, you know what? Wolverine might.
I ain't think about that.
Wolverine might. Wolverine... I hope not. But
it would be...
it wouldn't be outrageous if
with that being said...
If Morph is like, I wasn't born any gender.
It would be kind of woke if he flirts with him as Jean,
whatever. Yeah, as whatever.
And don't get a reaction. He sees him as himself, don't get a reaction. But he turns into Sabretooth. And he gets to incite a reaction. Right,
whatever. Okay. I can be whatever you want, Wolverine.
But he also turned into Lady Samurai, or whatever her name is.
Yeah. By the way, Morph is living up to his fucking name in this show. He turned into Archangel. He turned into Psylocke. He turned into Lady Deathstrike. He's done Xavier. He did Jean Grey. He did Sabretooth. Close.
Okay.
He can mimic their powers. Not quite.
Because he turned into Colossus and he was taking some hits.
Pretty close. Yeah, pretty close. He can mimic their powers pretty closely when he morphs into them. But like, for example, in the old show when he turned into Wolverine at one point and they sliced right through his claw.
They was like, yeah, you fake.
He wasn't admitting it. But either way, if he's flirting with Wolverine, anyways, that was my first red flag.
I don't think he's flirting.
I hope not. He might be. My second red flag, even though we all know that Magneto was 100% smashing Rogue, he also has so much love for Charles, And yes, we know they were like brothers and just happened to be on the opposite sides of the Civil War and all of that. But there's a moment where he talks about Xavier with Rogue in that office. And to me,
That nigga gay.
like this is my best friend for like I don't know, more than a decade, 15 years, something
You
like
better
that.
not ever speak to
But
me. Or speak
I would
of
never
me in that
like
way.
if God forbid something were to happen to me or something were to happen to
The only
him,
way you speak of
and
me
we
that
speak
way,
about each other.
the only way you speak of me in that way that Magneto spoke of Charles is if you had a kid and you had a son and you named him Chris after me, then it'd be like,
I would name him Anthony and say it was your middle name. Which technically is true.
but like, nah,
I'd be
that.
like, oh, that's up to my
So
boy Chris.
I never thought that
No, but it just sounded.
I never thought that the Magneto
That was
Xavier that stuff was gay.
It wasn't until it wasn't in the original show. This was really border. I
But
would not be
watched it and I
surprised
didn't
if there's
see it.
the only
until you
go
mentioned
back.
it.
Yeah, maybe go back and watch it. Maybe it's just me, guys. Maybe it's my homophobia, or maybe it's some
I think
suppressed.
you're reaching.
Yeah, maybe I don't think so. Go and read some comments online as well. I looked it up just to see if it was me. It wasn't just me, but
I think y'all are reaching.
I don't. Oh yeah, all of us. But now that's mass. That's called
Yeah.
mass hysteria. Okay,
No,
but no. Wait.
Because if you
Let me
want
let me
something
finish.
to
But
be-
you got to think about one
Look,
thing.
I'm
You
gonna say
gotta-
this: if you want something to be wrong, you'll find something to be wrong.
I didn't say it was wrong.
I didn't.
I just said that's what was.
If you're looking for something to be wrong,
I wasn't looking
That's
for it.
all I'm
It happened in the moment. I was like, what the hell? This is a little weird. He really loves the shit out of Xavier, and he was just flirting with Rogue, and the stuff that he's saying about Xavier, way deeper than the stuff that he was talking to Rogue about. He smashed Rogue. So I would not be surprised if we get some crazy flashbacks later on. I hope not. We
crazy
will find out.
flashbacks or what?
Maybe Xavier and Charles holding hands. Something
So I
being
wouldn't.
nothing's gonna
I
happen.
wouldn't want to see that.
Nothing's gonna happen. But I'm gonna
what
say
you're
this:
insinuating-
things might be,
you're-
things might be insinuated.
What you're insinuating is, man, goddamn. I know they got the CIA in Hollywood, so when
Maybe
it comes
they
to
were-
propaganda, I get that. So
Yeah.
maybe it's I
And
don't
it's
see
Disney,
it.
and it's Disney,
Yeah, it's also Disney. But for me,
and the head writer was,
caught on OnlyFans doing gay shit.
and he was a openly homosexual
He was
man,
an
right?
open faggot.
Who said, "Can't put that on the YouTube."
You gonna strike us?
Yeah,
Maybe the mic echoed, but I ain't say that word. I said a different word.
can't do that. Anyway, can't put hate speech on. Anyway, find out how we can mute this next 30 seconds. So we said all that. The dude is he's openly gay, and he before he took on the role, straight up said that he's
That's
going
the
to
showrunner.
incorporate
The showrunner.
the guy who got fired, the head writer.
Yeah.
He said that he was going to incorporate things that he lived out in his personal life into the show. So these are little nuances that I pick up on. I'm not saying that he's going to straight up make it that way, but there might be, and sometimes this is the best approach, where it's left up to nuance and insinuation, and let the person kind of think of themselves. Now there was a lot of this in Lord of the Rings with Sam and Bilbo Baggins. I mean Samwise and Frodo. There was a lot of stuff going on there where people were like, oh, these two loved each other a little longer than
Yeah,
we
so
might know.
I say this. So
But yeah, so there's a lot. To me, that's what was a red flag
I say this.
for me.
I
A
wasn't
lot of you
looking
guys,
out for
maybe people out there don't care.
I wasn't looking out for them to come out as potential lovers. So
I don't know
didn't
yet.
see
That's
it,
just me.
So I didn't
that's just
see
me.
it. But if I had my mind focused on that, there's gonna
Hindsight,
be
maybe if you go back and watch it now, you go like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because now
Because I mentioned it.
because you mentioned it. But
That's true.
yeah,
Anyway,
he had his little.
we're gonna wrap this. We're gonna wrap up Xmen 97. You like the show. I love the show. And you gave us a score in your group chat.
Yeah, so episode 1 was an 8 out of 10, and episode 2 was a 9 out of 10.
So as a whole, we're going like an 8.5. If you were to kind of like in between, as a whole.
All right, so episode
For what
episode
you've seen
1
so
was
far.
an 8, and episode 2 was a 9.5. And overall, for the first 2 episodes so far, in the series as a whole, based on the 2 episodes that I've seen,
2 episodes, yeah.
I give it a 9.
Oh well, that's a really good score. So if you guys go watch my review, you'll see my score on there as well, and it wouldn't be too far off of what Chris said. I go a little bit more in depth into the review. Hopefully, like I said, no, we didn't. We could have covered every scene the way I did. So like I did a whole half-hour episode on just the first 2 episodes. So anyway, we all that, and we're gonna wrap up the show with some video game stuff, and we're gonna do another list, and hopefully, and this is off the top of our heads, unprepared for both of us, correct?
Okay.
And what I wanted to do was we did fighting games last week, and this week I wanted to do what is your favorite Super Nintendo games of all time. Now this could be multi-platform,
Okay,
that's
I
fine,
got
but games that you specifically remember playing on Super Nintendo. Your top 5 Super Nintendo games.
All right, so they're not in any order because
Right.
that's
In
just
general,
how I
for
do
you.
it. Super Mario World,
We've talked about this. It's a
Super Mario
fantastic game.
Kart,
Oh, Super Mario Kart. The first one.
Super Bomberman,
Oh, unexpected. And why Super Bomberman? You play that a lot with your
I
boys,
played
or?
a lot of Bomberman as a youth.
Great
as a
game too, by
youth,
the way. There's nothing wrong with Super
Super
Bomberman.
Bomberman. That prepared me for Bomberman N64.
Great game too.
So that's 3. So all right, Super Nintendo. Damn,
There's a
I
lot
wanna-
of it's hard, right? It's a
I'm
hard
gonna
list.
Cop out Super Street Fighter 2,
No, well, yeah, okay,
and
great,
then
great game.
and then Donkey Kong Country 2.
Oh, the one without Donkey Kong in it.
No, the one with Donkey and
So part 1,
part 1, that one.
Donkey Kong Country. Because that I was gonna say the just to piggyback up off of your last pick, the
one with Donkey Kong and
the
Diddy.
biggest the first one. So the biggest technical marvel out of those 3 is 3, and it doesn't have either. It has Dixie Kong,
and
I believe,
the other whatever.
and that weird Clown Kong, whatever the Gorilla Kong.
So me
part
personally,
2
I
is Diddy
didn't
and
like it
Dixie.
after when I bought the
Without
game,
Donkey Kong?
Yeah.
Why call it Donkey Kong
Yeah.
Country? That was me. I that's a really good pick. And I think most of those were exclusives, except for Street Fighter. Yeah, so a really good Super Nintendo list.
Yeah, I mean, I had a Sega, I had a Super Nintendo. I mean, I might wake up and be like, and watch this over and be like, damn, I should have said this, I should have said that. But like,
No, that's a
being
solid
drunk
list.
right now, this is what
So
I'm
so my list. I don't want to overlap. Do you have an honorable mention for your list? Just in case.
Now I gotta think about honorable mention. My honorable mention would be
Next week we'll do like Sega Genesis.
honorable mention.
Yeah,
And I said Donkey Kong.
you did Donkey Kong Country, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario World, Super Street Fighter, and Super Mario Kart.
And I said Bomberman.
And Bomberman, yeah, which is a freaking good list, and it's variety. Like if you only had a Super Nintendo and all those games, I think you'd be a pretty happy gamer.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
All right, if you don't have
give me time to think.
All right, we're gonna come back for his honorable mention.
Before you say your honorable mention, I should have mine.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna start off with my number 5 pick, and even though Mario World would have been my number 5 because it's such an obvious pick, right? I'm gonna go with something that most people probably wouldn't put up there, but it's Super Mario All Stars. It was the game pack that had Mario 1, Mario 2, Mario 3, and the first time that the American audience got what we call Super Mario The Lost Levels, but it's really Mario 2
Super Mario
and
World
everywhere
format.
else. Yeah, and they updated the graphics. So if you guys want to talk about one of the first companies to ever do a remaster, this is it. It's Nintendo, guys. They took it, and it was Super Mario Bros, man. But it had 16-bit graphics.
Yeah.
They updated the sound visuals.
Was it Mario Day or was it Mario World graphics?
It was Mario World graphics. Yeah. It was 16 bits. It was great. It was a great game, and it was a 4-pack for the price of one game. You know, back in 1990, 4 or 5 when that came out. What a great game to have. Mario All Stars, and that's in place of what I would have picked, which was Mario World, which is a fantastic pick. Another pick that I'm gonna say, this is something that you mentioned last time, but we're gonna include this. Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo does not get enough love. The N64 version is the one everybody thinks of when they think of Killer Instinct Gold. But Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo, even though it wasn't arcade perfect, was like, hey, we are Nintendo, we are Rare, we've got a very good fighting game. It is kind of an in-between Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, kind of a clone, but we're going to focus on the combos. And hearing the voice actor, Killer Combo, Ultra Combo, I mean, that shit in the 90s, it was, you know, and you could hear him pick Saber Wolf, and you're like, oh yeah, it's gonna be fucking, it's time. Killer Instinct, great game. I don't think you go wrong with that. If you want, you could swap out any one of these games that you swap out Killer Instinct with Street Fighter, you're gonna have a good time. Number 3, F-Zero. It's a launch game on the Super Nintendo. It was the first time that I saw what, you know, Mode 7 graphics were. You're flying into the foreground. It felt 3D at the time. It wasn't.
Right now because I was going to pick F-Zero as my honorable.
Okay, that's fine. So F-Zero's your honorable mention. That's fine.
I mean, so.
And I'm going to go with my, that's number 3 for me. That's your honorable mention. That's fine. Yeah, F-Zero, great game.
The reason why I picked them is because other than Mario Kart, for me, with racing games at that time,
we like racing games. That's another thing.
With racing games at that time, F-Zero really gave you the feel that you were speeding, you were going fast,
and you could hit the walls and crash.
Yeah, so you got to be perfect. So for an arcade speeder,
shoulder to break in. Yeah, it was a good game.
That was my honorable mention.
Great.
Sorry,
no, that's not a. Don't be sorry. How can you be sorry about F-Zero, one of the greatest, right? Which brings me to number 2. The first time I saw personally, and I know there were examples of this out there before, but Star Fox on the Super Nintendo, polygon graphics, on rails, sure, simple at the time, absolutely simple at the time, but Star Fox on Super Nintendo with the FX chip looked so good that Nintendo canceled Star Fox 2 after it was complete. Because when Star Fox 2 was done, they were scared to publish it and have people say, well, you're able to pull off these graphics on a Super Nintendo with an extra chip. Why should we buy the Nintendo 64? If you don't believe me, guys, you can go look up
the 90s hype, man. That's when we
3D polygons.
Better.
Yeah, and the game was Star Fox 2 was done. Yeah. They spent millions making that game in the 90s. It looked 3D graphics, and they said no. So imagine being Shigeru Miyamoto, who's the company darling, and his game gets canceled.
Yeah.
Because it was something that the Super Nintendo with the FX chip, it kind of didn't. It was close enough to 32 bits where they were like, no, we're not going to be able to do that and sell you an N64 and give you a reason to upgrade. So they canceled Star Fox. So Star Fox is my number 2 pick.
And we never got a Star Fox 2.
We got it after the Super Nintendo Mini came out.
Okay.
When the Super Nintendo Mini came out, Nintendo included Star Fox 2, the completed game. Yeah, so if you guys didn't know, go pick up a Super Nintendo Mini and you guys can play Star Fox 2. Or if you guys know of any legal emulators out there, go ahead and download that ROM. By the way, there aren't. We can talk about Nintendo next week destroying some ROM companies out there, some emulation companies. And my honorable mention for Super Nintendo, this is my second experience with Mode 7, another launch game, Pilot Wings. So Pilot Wings on the Super Nintendo, again, it was using that Mode 7 effect, creating a 3D environment. Okay. It was a launch game, and it was like, oh my god, this is something that, it was at that time blowing people's minds from what the NES could do. And then we're going to talk about my all-time favorite Super Nintendo game, Mega Man X. Mega Man X, I don't know.
My first time ever playing Mega Man was on the PC.
Okay, that's fine.
No, because
above Nintendo, above the NES.
Yeah, my first time ever playing.
There's 6 NES games.
I never played. My first time ever playing Mega Man was on the PC, and it was around that Super Nintendo time.
Amazing.
And it was hard as shit.
Yeah.
And I was also young, so
I don't know what version you played, but I'm guessing it's maybe a modified NES version of some sort, or it could have been X. Who knows? I mean, at those times we weren't PC gamers by any stretch in the '90s. So yeah, so you played Mega Man on the PC.
He always had a computer. He always had computer games. He always had consoles. So I got to experience
other platforms
and other games that I wouldn't have had access
to. Yeah, man, that's cool, man. And I have a cousin. His name is Ruben, and I love you, brother. He lives down the street, and he was the guy with all the systems when I was a kid. I mean, I had a Super Nintendo and a Sega, but Ruben had the 3DOs, TurboGrafx, and the Neo Geo. So if I wanted to play Samurai Showdown, I could buy the Super Nintendo version, or I could go to Ruben's house and play the real version.
On that note, I remember playing Samurai Showdown on the PC, but I also remember your favorite game of all time, Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
My favorite game of all time is Shenmue.
Okay, so I remember playing Marvel vs.
My favorite fighting game,
I remember playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and there was even more characters.
Oh, so that's a mod.
And it had a mod, but it was even more characters. They had DBZ characters. Before I even knew what DBZ was.
Okay, definitely a modification.
Back
when modding was like in its infancy.
Before I even knew what it was, they had Goku and Vegeta and all of that.
Probably skinned over Ryu and Ken or Akuma.
But they played differently.
Yeah, no, I know. You might think that. In the 90s, you might think that. Yeah, rose tinted glasses.
But
they were in the game. I mean, it was a different time, guys, and we were also a lot younger, and it was our first exposure to those type of games. So all that goes back to Mega Man X, my number one game of all, my number one Super Nintendo game, and the reason is when I saw Mega Man X, to me, it was the graphical jump between Mega Man 1 or Mega Man 6 at the time was like huge, and I spent so many hours on Mega Man. And there were other X2, X3, Zero, and all that, but that was my first experience with a 16-bit Mega Man, and I love it, guys. And again, it doesn't have to be your favorite Super Nintendo game. There's so many good ones out there.
Yeah.
every game that you heard him say and you heard me say tonight is gonna be. You can swap those out. Yeah, you can swap those out. There's not a single bad experience to be had amongst any of those games.
Yeah,
I think if you want to swap any one of those, you want to swap out Killer Instinct for Donkey Kong Country, go for it. You're getting cool graphics, cool animations, and you're not gonna have a bad time if you choose one or the other. They're different, but they're cool. Yeah, man, we had a pretty
so that's where we at, and
pretty good episode this week. I
next
think.
week, I mean, we might touch on.
We haven't heard the audio yet, guys. We have been working on this audio for weeks. Thank you for being so patient with us. And we want to thank everybody who watched last week. We had like double the viewers than we normally do. So we appreciate everybody who clicked on that episode. And we're going to try to keep doing more of that. And also want to give a shout out. I want to give a special shout out to everybody that's been giving us likes every week. And also a shout out to our one hater. We have one hater out there, Chris.
I know.
Well, we do have one hater that every week, except for last week, gives us a thumbs down. And a thumbs down is fine. We do want to fix the show. We do want to fix the audio. Let us know in the comments. Why don't you like the show? And we'll go ahead and do our best to fix it. Hopefully, by this time next week, or hopefully on this show, the audio is fixed, and we are definitely working on it, guys.
I want to be humble because I want to make sure that the audio is the best, and we're going to try to pursue that.
But we are working on it. We don't have audio mixers or anything like that.
If there's a hater that is disliking this, then leave a comment.
Tell us why. What can we do besides? I mean, we're working on the audio, but let us know why you think.
Be brave.
Yeah, don't be anonymous.
Live long and prosper.
But as always, guys, did you like Invincible? Do you like Xmen 97? What are you playing this week? What are your favorite 5 Super Nintendo games? Leave the list below, because maybe we missed a game. Maybe there's a game on our list that I could swap out next week and go, you know what?
Dogma 2 got downrated, and I thought that was going to be a good game. So,
which one?
Dragon's Dogma 2.
That's a game.
It dropped this week, and what happened was the internet never fails.
The internet
never fails. He said, "Yo, I'm not gonna include. I never played the game, guys, so
I haven't
don't quote
either.
me on this. But he said, yo, if you're playing an action RPG game, there's no need for fast travel if the game is fun. And then when the game launched, they added fast travel packs that you gotta purchase and pay for.
Purchase and pay for?
So
I did not know about this.
It's Friday, the 20 whatever. The game probably launched maybe last night or this morning.
You gotta buy fast travel.
That's hilarious. The internet is up in arms over that, and Steam.
That's a really dumb feature to.
I don't know. I don't know if it's free or not. But what I can say is what I've read is you have to pay to fast travel. So I don't know if that's the in-game currency that you earn or you don't. But
I don't know,
guys. If you want to fast travel and you out of fast travels, then I mean you can always pay for it.
Which is crazy.
If you like that, you got it.
It's free on Skyrim. It's free on Fallout. It's free on all those games. Why pay for it? Okay, but Dragon Dogma's too. So Dragon Dogma 1 was like a big hit. So here's what's funny when you say that, and I know we're out of time. But I skimmed over. I did see it in the headlines, Dragon Dogma 2. But because it was a game that I'd never played, I kind of skipped over it. I didn't read what was going on.
All the Reddit forums, and it's next week. If it continues to be what it is right now, next week we'll speak on it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. It definitely sounds like something we need to touch upon. Man, I kind of wish I would have read about it. But yeah, man, thanks for bringing it up. As always, guys, we are Starflag Media, drunken idiots. A little drunk, I definitely.
All day.
And I'm 2 cups deep into. I ate lunch, but I'm 2 cups deep into Jack Daniels, and I think I
Jack
might do a
Daniels is 2
third.
cups deep in them.
Jesus
That's
Christ!
what you said.
I said I am 2 cups deep into Jack
So you doing the
Daniels.
bending.
I'm not the one taking. That's not the greatest, but it's a step up.
Hey yo.
So with that, hey yo, with that said, we are the Drunken Idiot Star Flag Media. Thanks for joining us this week. Hopefully our audio is great. If it is not, thank you for joining us anyway. Leave that like, leave that subscribe. If you're already liked and subscribed, share, please. And I know we sound like every YouTuber out there, but it helps the channel out.
And it don't cost you nothing to like.
It's free. It's free. It's free
Now,
to
if you
click
want to
that
spend
share
$1,
button.
we got a coffee fund.
Yeah, buy us a coffee if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate that too. We are looking for an audio mixer so that we can get the
That
audio
too.
right. Right now, we're working some basic software.
Help.
So
Can you help us?
help us help you.
Yes.
Chris is looking, when he's a master PC guy, maybe I'll send him the raw video, and maybe he has the spare time to fix the audio.
Yeah, I don't think I have a problem with that.
Yeah, that's fine too.
Outside
Until
looking
next
in.
time. Yeah, absolutely. Until next time, thank you guys for joining us. As always, we love you guys. Thanks for being here, and we are the Drunken Idiots, and peace out.